Failure is uncomfortable. We avoid it. We hide it. We deny it. We try to minimize it. But what if failure isn't something to avoid? What if it's the entire process? This is Cultivating Intelligence, and today we're talking about failure. Let's start with art. No one talks about the bad pieces, the sketches that go nowhere, the paintings painted over, the ideas that sounded brilliant in your head and terrible once they existed in the world. But those pieces matter because good work is usually built on bad work, not accidentally, but structurally. Every artist develops taste long before they develop the ability to execute it, which means for a long time, you can't see what's wrong before you know how to fix it. And that gap, that uncomfortable gap between vision and capability, that's where most people quit. Not because they lack talent, but because they're afraid of failing publicly. Take a look at gardening. Failure's guaranteed. Plants die. I have a whole room full of dead houseplants. Weather shifts. Pests show up. Seeds don't sprout. And sometimes you do everything right, and things still fail anyway. That part matters because nature doesn't reward perfection. It rewards adaptation. A gardener learns to observe, to adjust, to pay attention to patterns, not to control outcomes. And over time, failure stops feeling personal. A dead plant becomes information. Too much water, not enough drainage, wrong season, wrong placement. Failure becomes feedback. Now consider AI. AI fails constantly. Bad outputs, hallucinations, nonsensical answers, broken assumptions. But what's interesting is that nobody expects AI to get everything right immediately. People iterate with it naturally. They refine prompts, adjust context, try different approaches. They understood the process requires experimentation. But humans rarely extend that same patience to themselves. One bad outcome, and suddenly we decide, I'm not good at this. I'm not creative. I'm not capable. I failed. And maybe that's the real problem. We confuse failing at something with being a failure. Those are not the same thing because failure threatens identity. It threatens competence, status, control. Humans crave certainty. We want proof that our effort will work before we begin. But creation doesn't work that way. No meaningful transformation comes with guarantees. Not art, not leadership, not relationships, not innovation, not growth. And the fear of failure does something dangerous. It pushes people towards safety over curiosity. We stop experimenting. We stop risking. We stop trying things we might be bad at, which sounds protective until you realize stagnation has a cost too. Because avoiding failure often means avoiding growth. And somewhere along the way, modern culture started treating failure like evidence of incompetence instead of evidence of participation. Social media amplified this. We mostly see finished products now, finished art, successful businesses, perfect gardens, polished careers. But we almost never see the thousands of invisible failures underneath them. The abandoned drafts, the dead ends, the bad clothing, the embarrassing attempts, the versions that didn't work. So people start believing successful people fail less. Usually the opposite is true. They've just learned how to survive failure without letting it define them. And that changes everything. Because once failure stops becoming a threat to your identity, you become much harder to stop. You try more things, you recover faster, you adapt quicker. Failure becomes movement instead of judgment. And truthfully, some of the most compassionate, grounded, intelligent people are people who have failed deeply. Because failure teaches things success never has to. Failure teaches humility, and patience, empathy, and resilience and perspective. Success often reinforces what already worked. Failure forces examination. Failure asks, why did you miss? What assumptions were wrong? What needs to change? And if you listen carefully, failure is often incredibly specific. It tells you where the structure is weak, where the process broke, where your understanding was incomplete. That's why failure is data. It's feedback. It's direction. But most people get stuck here, not because they fail, but because they interpret failure incorrectly. They make it personal instead of informational. So maybe the shift is this: stop asking, how do I avoid failure? And start asking, how do I learn from it faster? Because the goal was never perfection. The goal was cultivation, and cultivation is messy. It's slow. It's unpredictable. Whether you're growing plants, making art, building systems, or becoming someone new, failure is part of the process. Failure is not proof you should stop. Failure is proof you're actually doing it. Next time, what makes something real? Because that question is about to get a lot more complicated. This is Cultivating Intelligence.
This podcast explores ideas at the intersection of art, nature, and AI. The perspectives shared are intended to inspire curiosity and conversation, not to serve as professional advice. As with any evolving field, listeners are encouraged to think critically and seek additional perspectives.